Hey, my name is Shelly and this is my summer TBR. So you may notice that we are a completely different setting, and that is because my kids are home and my bookshelf is in our living room, which everybody goes to. So it's nearly impossible to film in there unless it's like at 10 o'clock at night, and by that point I'm too tired to film. So here we are, holed up in my room, in my little setup. So we are here to talk about my summer TBR. I'm not going to get into any specifics about book subplots or plot lines, so I'll just quickly go over them because I actually have a giant pile here that I want to read all summer. Will I read them all? Probably not, but some of them, yes. So the first book I want to talk about is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I know I'm going to be reading this because I already started. I actually started last night. I think I got the first chapter in. I'm going to be doing a mixture of audiobook and physical. I won't be reading out of my beautiful broken binding edition because I don't want to wreck it. I don't want to wreck it. I don't trust myself. Let's just say that. So I will be reading it. I have a paperback somewhere in the house. I will be reading that. I will be participating in a buddy read on Taylor's channel from Taylor Made Between the Pages. If you have not checked her out, check her out. She's a good friend of mine. I love her to bits. Most of her Patreon, I believe, are participating in this read. And for me, this is a reread, so I know that I'm going to love it. But I'm just super excited to jump back into this world, and it'll be extra enjoyable because I get to read it with everybody else, and buddy reads just make everything more fun. So this will be a July read, and possibly, I'm going to put this here. I don't want to drop it. And we may be picking up Red Sea Under Red Skies in August. This will be a first time read for me because I have not continued on since Lies of Locke Lamora. So I'm really excited to continue on with this. And again, this is my beautiful broken binding copy, which I am so terrified to hold. I absolutely love these copies. Like, they're just so beautiful. So super excited. So July and August. The next book I want to talk about, I'm super excited to talk about, and that is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is a reread for me. I'm so ecstatic to jump back into this world. I miss it so much, like so much. And we're doing a readathon at Taylor's Discord channel. So again, it's another Patreon readathon, but I'm also hosting it on my Discord as well, which is free to use. So if you want to buddy read this beautiful masterpiece with us, you can. Both Discords I highly recommend, and they're a lot of fun. Can't say much about this. Obviously, if you know Stormlight, you know Stormlight. So I am so happy to jump back into this world because I miss it so much. So we are starting this in July, which is next week. So I need to finish Lies of Locke Lamora, and then I will be starting this bad boy. Chances are I will be listening to the audiobook of this because I will be at the cottage and I don't want to bring my big floppy paperback to the cottage. So, and then we will be continuing on in August with Words of Radiance. Again, on both Discords, all the links will be down below. I love this book. This is my favorite Stormlight book so far. I can't say much else about this book because it is a continuation, and I'm so happy to revisit it in August. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is a small read. I need a little bit of a break in between those ginormous tomes that I mentioned that I'm going to be doing in buddy reads. I'm going to be reading this by myself. This is going to be a solo physical read that I will read throughout the summer. This was pitched to me as like an urban sci-fi fantasy. So like something like urban fantasy but in space, because I'm really loving urban fantasy right now. Speaking of urban fantasies, I will be also reading Magic Rises by Lona Anders. This is the 6th book in the Kate Daniels series, and I will be reading it with my Ride or Die buddy read pal V. We are like burning through these books like faster than you can process. We're listening to the graphic audiobooks, which are really good. They're like kind of cheesy, but the fact that there's multiple narrators, they do such a great job. Audiobooks are more, and someone's narrating a book to you, where this is like a movie in your ears. So that's what it is. So I will be reading these two for sure this summer. And if I continue on with Magic Rises, I want to go to Magic Breaks and possibly Magic Strikes. So that is 7 and 8. So I would like to finish out the Kate Daniels series by the end of the summer. So that will be also on my TBR. The next one is Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. I recently finished the First Law, like the First Law trilogy, and loved it. So I'm really eager to jump back into the First Law world with Best Served Cold, especially since I've heard that this book is one, extremely good, about a badass chick, and 3, there's going to be a movie adaptation of it that's going to be come out, I don't know when, but the actress that is playing the main character is, I think her name is Rebecca Ferguson, the Jessica from Dune. So I'm so happy about that announcement. So I will definitely be reading that this summer. The next book that I really, really want to get to that has not been released yet, I believe it comes out in July. So I hope to get to it in July. That is Black Tide Sun. I read Darkwater Daughter earlier, I think in March, and absolutely loved it. So I'm really, really, really hoping to love the sequel as well. And the next book I also want to get to, I want to jump back into the Murderbot Diaries series, mainly because of the adaptation announcement. Again, that is, I think it's being adapted by Apple, and Apple has done a really great job with sci-fi series. So I'm hoping that it's done really well. So I want to jump back into that. So I think the next book I have to read is Road Protocol. I listened to the audiobook. The audiobooks are pretty good, so they're really great in between books. So I will be listening to that at some point this summer as well. As for manga, I would like to continue on with Noragami, The Stray God. I have a lot of these bind up omnibuses that are just sitting on my shelf collecting dust, and I really need to get back into these because I really love this series. So I believe this is volumes 4, 5, and 6, and I believe the entire series actually just got completed recently. So best time to pick it up. I feel like this manga series is highly underrated. It is like an action series, but there's a bit of romance, there's some quirky characters, there's a lot of drama, and a lot of violence and creepy things. Like, there's a lot of things that this manga has, but the reason why I love it is because the mangakas, there's 2 mangakas, and they're 2 female mangakas, and to have 2 female mangakas write a successful shogun manga, and also it is an anime as well, is awesome. Like, there's a few exceptions. There's a few. I think Demon Slayer was also a female mangaka, and Full Metal Alchemist is another female mangaka. So there's a few, but they're like far in between. So I really like to focus my time and energy on those. Plus, I really love this world. Like, it is kind of like an urban fantasy. Like, you don't really use the term urban fantasy for Japan. It's just kind of, I don't know, it's modern day Japan where you are following a character who is like almost like a disgraced god. Like, in this world, like, the gods are more powerful by the more worshippers they have. So this character doesn't have any worshippers, so he has no powers, and he's basically homeless. It's really funny, and I really, really enjoy it. So I'm excited to get back into it. So the next ones I want to talk about are my maybes. These are like, I may get to them, I may not. And the first one is The Requiem for a Son by Elizabeth Hayden. This is the 4th book in the Symphony of the Ages series. As you see, it looks like I have read it already, but I have not. This was a bookmark that I placed in the book 10 years ago. Nope, 20 years ago. Oh my God, I feel so old. I stopped reading this, I think it was like around 2004, 2005. So my bookmark is actually the Leave a Extraordinary Gentleman. I think I went to go see this in theaters, and I got this little bookmark. So yeah, whenever that movie came out, that's when I was reading it. And I stopped here. So I thought it was fitting because this came out in July. So I thought it was fitting that I would pick it up in July and reread it and kind of start it again. But I don't know. I haven't been really in the mood for epic fantasies lately, except for Stormlight. That's like an exception to the rule. But yeah, I haven't been feeling epic fantasies, but summertimes I tend to feel them a little bit more. So maybe I will pick this up. I want to, because I think that would be kind of fun to pick it up in July, like 20 years after I was supposed to read it. Boop. So next books I want to mention, these are a maybe read. I've been wanting to pick up Emily Henry for a while. I have Beach Reads and I have Book Lovers. I've heard a lot of people recommend Book Lovers, but Beach Reads might be actually a good beach read. But I recently read a contemporary romance and it didn't work for me as well as it works for other people, so I don't know if I'll get to it. I'm going to try. So either one of these I will probably pick up this summer to see how I feel about it. Maybe beach read because I can read it at the beach and it's just a good excuse to read, and I could take this onto the beach and not feel bad about it getting wrecked. So yeah, so one of these I may be reading. The next one on my maybe list is The Godkiller by Hannah Kenner. We were supposed to be reading this in Discord, but I don't know, I feel like priorities kind of got shifted, so it just never happened. So this may be happening, especially since I really love short books right now. Like with all the tomes I have, I'm really focusing on short first books. I don't know much about this, but I do know that there's like gods and I think a Godkiller, so that I'm a sucker for gods and gods killers. So everybody who reads it absolutely loves it. So I'm really curious to see what this is all about. So speaking of God Killers, the next one, these are maybes, and that is Rob J. Hayes's, I can't remember the term for it, but basically he's coming out with the first book of 3 separate trilogies. So each book one of 3 separate trilogies, and I believe all of these trilogies are connected, which I'm a sucker for. I'm a sucker for that. So the first one is Deathless, the second one is Demon, and the third one is Herald. I backed up the Kickstarter, so I have been patiently waiting for these physical books to arrive, but I know that he's been having some issues, so I have no problem waiting. But Moira Cork, who did the audiobook and narrating for the War Eternal series, which is also Rob J. Hayes' series and one of my favorite series and favorite narrators. If I find out that she does the narration for these 3 trilogies, or at least one of them, I'm definitely listening to the audiobook because she is the best. And I love both of them. I love Rob J. Hayes and I love her, and them together is just like a perfect storm. So yeah, I'm hoping to read at least one of the 3 this summer. Okay, these are like maybe. The first one is The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. The only reason I'm like, I've wanted to pick this up for a really long time, But like I mentioned before, I have to be in the right mood for epic fantasies, especially epic fantasies that take place in like medieval times. Like I have to be in the right mood. But thanks to House of Dragons, which is currently airing, I am feeling that right now. So I may pick this up. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I may pick this up in July. I'm going to have to depend on audiobooks like for the whole month. As you see, I've already kind of started it, but I soft DNF'd it a while ago because I wasn't feeling the mood. So we'll see, hopefully. But I did enjoy what I read. Fingers crossed that I will get to this. And the last book I have mentioned probably a dozen times in my videos before is the Sun Eater series by Christopher Ruocchio. I want to love this series so bad. I do. It just, on paper, it sounds like something I absolutely would love. Also, I'm getting a bit of FOMO, so I want to jump into this world, but I struggle with first-person narration, especially when it's a first-person narration when they're retelling their story. The one exception to the rule, I believe, is the War Eternal series, like I mentioned before. That was one where I loved it and it worked for me, but other things like the Realm of the Elderlings, and I haven't even read, what's that one called? I haven't even read that one because I've heard, well, 1, it's not completed, and 2, I knew that it was like first-person narrative of a guy telling a story. But even people that I've heard that don't like first-person narrative are still enjoying this book. But if I do this, I'm probably going to have to listen to the audiobook because I'm not going to have time to read this big old chunker plus these big old chunkers. What am I doing to myself? So that is my summer TBR. Like, wish me luck. If you wish to join in any of the buddy reads, I'll link all the Discord information and all my socials down below. If you've made it to the end of the video, maybe leave a summer emoji, like a beach emoji. If you've liked this video, please think about liking and subscribing. It really helps the channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a fabulous day. Bye.